Welcome to this psychophilosophical spoken word internet series, Inalienable Paradise. This is aimed to providing stories and tactics to help people, even in the most traumatic and inescapable of circumstances, to help people with things universally accessible overcome such circumstances or feelings of terror, worthlessness, and helplessness. We hope we will provide the help that so many people need, and that you will find at least some value in this. Thank you. I am very excited to do this edition of Inalienable Paradise. This is going to be probably the most artistically daring and, dare I say, original edition. So, what I think makes this series a little more special than most people, beside the fact that it's not incentivized, beside the fact that it's not done for just to earn money or for the sake of doing it, this series has a very clear unifying theme that covers the entire series, which is where I share such knowledge that one would say, what knowledge can I carry with me that will bring me strength and transformation, even on the most difficult days, even on days where one's miseries is completely inescapable, because this is the reality for many people today. And it's why and it just stemmed, I guess, mostly from two things. It stemmed from when I read The House of Evil, the criminal case of Sylvia Likens, which bothered me for years on end. And when I just got sick of hearing horrible advice, such as, if you don't like your job, quit your job. If you don't like living with toxic family members, move out. I just felt that this was all just horrible, unrealistic advice. So instead of learning on unrealistic ways to escape the storm, let's find realistic ways of coping with the storm. That's what Inalienable Paradise is all about. So, with this in mind, what this edition will be about is a two-part series where I will narrate all 62 short stories of a pretty incredible book called Severance by Olen Butler. And it's going to be only about, 3 to 6. It's going to be a paragraph long, each story. And it's kind of a weird idea. It's about it. So each story is a description of the remaining 90 seconds of consciousness that a human head can experience after being decapitated. So, yes, I definitely heard somewhere that after being decapitated, human consciousness can go on from anywhere from 18 to 90 seconds. And there is no possible more inescapable situation than being decapitated. There is no way out of that. So I thought by narrating these rather unique stories, it will bring much more artistic depth to this series that I've been working on for over a year. Which I'm not working on this as often as I want to, because I lead a pretty busy life, and it's hard to find time for this when I'm already working on so much. But we are here now, and this is going to be a two-part series where I'm going to do 31 short stories, and I'll do 31 later. So without further ado, here is the first 31 shorts. That's what it is self-described as, these short stories by Severance, written by Olen Butler. Number 1, Mud, beheaded by saber-toothed tiger, circa 40,000 BC. Sharp the air with cold that comes so fast, and far we all run, along water returning to rock, Many suns and only short snout to eat between us, the old of us lagging, the cold rushing, the touchwood barely warm, we blow long on the touchwood last dark time. We blow in much growling anger, for the touchwood keeps its flame tight. We all will lose the flame soon, and we alone fall back to the old ones in skins, but we all keep the body grease for ourselves to hold our heat inside, while the old carry the cold inside. And one is the suckle woman. Long suns past, she holds us alone to her suckle, and we alone sit at flame, and suckle woman puts her hand upon our head, alone, and puts her mouth to our ear, alone, and makes a soft cry. But we all feel the time coming like many suns past, before suckle woman is old, and there were other old, and the cold came quick, and we all were drawn tight on our bones, and the biting was fierce in our centers, and we all were going slow, and it was time to eat the old. And now the cold is upon us, and now the time again, and we alone fall back to hold the suckle woman, and to make cries into her before we all eat. Number 2, Medusa, beheaded by Perseus, circa 2000 BC. Dreaming, surely I dream now, I can still shake my hair down long, and billowing like waves upon the sea. How tender I am, how fair I can see in the reflection of water, and shield in a man's eyes. And this softer hair makes no difference. I can still turn a man to stone who looks at me. The part of him that snakes inside me, a clefting of stone, and my body weeps the sea, pours forth the thickest sea for my god-man Poseidon, who smells of brine, and the great swimming creatures who attend him, scaled and heavy wet limbs about me. And that bitch, Athena, thinks her temple defiled, but it was he who came to me, and learned his trident upon her marble face, and dripped upon her floor. She tries to hurt me, but I love my living hair. These serpents whisper when men come close, each strand with a split tongue hissing my desire for them. I shake my dear children, my tresses down, and they curl back up to their black eyes, flashing, and the man cries out at my beauty, and then his tongue and face and chest and arms and thighs and his toad-headed serpent all turned hard forever. The clearing before my cave is throned with them, my admirers. But my children are my true loves, rooted in my brain, and gathered sleeping against my face, muttering sibilant dreams of love. Number 3, Marcus Tullius Cicero, orator and politician, beheaded on orders of Mark Antony, 43 BC. Louder, Marcus Tullius, I cannot hear your cries. Helvia, my noble mother, her forehead ringed in curls, calling from the top row of the empty theater, speak louder, and my arms are leaden from 1,000 apt gestures, and I cannot think, and I am small. Stand straight, she cries. I lift my upper body, and the senators are packed before me like sardellis straight from the sea, their eyes unblinking, their mouths gaping. My voice rings through the curia, and I feel the comforting press of my toga over my shoulder. And now the Senate is empty, but for Antony, speak up, he says. I cannot bear you. His centurions are nowhere in sight, and I straighten and say, if, noble Antony, your nobility were made coinage for the empire, its measure would be. I falter. I adjust the toga folds about my chest, searching for an appropriately minuscule measure, but time is running quickly. I know I have no arms to lift. Your nobility, I say, is the nobility of green flies on goat shit. They glitter in the sunlight, and they eat, and they move their wings and fly, but their life is short. And Antony lifts up on diaphanous wings, and rises and vanishes. And now a woman's voice says, "Speak up, Marcus Tullius. Speak up. I cannot hear you." And I say, "O noble mother Helvia, if your nobility were made coinage for the empire." Number 4. John the Baptist, prophet, beheaded by King Herod, circa 30. Smelling of garlic he comes to me, and he is lank with long hands, and I rejoice that he enjoys his food, and that in my own mouth there was only the bitter crunch of locust, and the sour berry, and the cloying of wild honey, as I waited for him, and I draw my face close to his mouth, as I hold him in my arms to smell his very breath. And I feel the hardness of his back, and his hand curls up to cup, my elbow angled by his side. I pull that arm closer, laying it along his body, feeling his ribs, and the Jordan rushes about us, the fish rubbing at my legs like hungry dogs, and I am hungry too, and I would rub against him. My Lord, my face of God, his eyes dark and narrowing at me, as I hesitate to press him under, and he whispers to me, "John, you must do this," and my mouth would speak, but it is so close to this now, and I lift him slightly towards me, this man I have waited for all my life, waited to kiss, thinking it would be his feet, but now I would have him open his mouth and devour me, take me in his mouth, and let me disappear into his very flesh, and I would be sweet to his taste, I am certain. And he says, "John." Number 5. Valeria Messalina, wife of Emperor Claudius I of Rome, beheaded by the order of her husband. I am sighted throughout my tongue. I run the tip of my tongue through the cleft of his chin, watching him, and I hear through my tongue. I draw my tongue across his chest, and pause and listen to his heart beating, rushing faster even as I linger here. And I lift my face from the chest of my Caius Silius. We are panting now. We are the Circus Maximus. We are the rush of wheels, the wild breath of horses on the throne room floor, and the bright expanse of marble. I shift my eyes, and I see us both in the mirror of stone, our flanks naked and pressed together. As one, I return my eyes to him. His head reclines. He sighs. I memorize his flesh, the faint groove along the underside of his jaw, the marble expanse of his chest. The cinnamon nipple I pluck now with my lips, and I just below it is the red birth spot, the kiss of the goddess voluptus. I have turned my eyes away from this too long. I will pull down her temple for this. I draw a circle around this spot on his flesh with my tongue. I take it between my teeth, tugging gently, and he moans, and I bite hard, now his skin yielding. His blood sudden, and warm his body thrashes, but I hold fast to my man. I tear this other kiss from his body. Number 6. Dioscorus, shipmaster and companion to Paul, beheaded by Roman soldiers who mistook him for the apostle. Sails swell and braces hum overhead, my hand on the tiller night and day, and night again, and all the things of the world are beneath my feet now. All at once, the timber and the cattle, and the linen, and the glass, the wine, the wool, ivory and apes, olives and cheese, plums and pears and pomegranates, and ginger, myrrh and incense, alabaster and amber, oysters and slaves, their dark eyes turning to me awake in the midst of the night, as I hug the coast, hour of Aden, and it's day now, and still I have wind in the great middle sea, and I have woodstock and statuary from Sicily, and papyrus and granite and glass from Egypt, corn and fish and hides from the Black Sea, and from Smyrna I have carpets rolled and bound and stacked in the hold, and passengers, a man and two others who bow to him, a man with a naked head like mine, bare to the sky and the wind. There is only the terrible motionless of my house, becalmed, my son barely drawing a breath. This man touches my son's head and speaks to his God, and my son lives, and the man says, "Leave all these things." And I am in a marketplace, and I cry out the name of this man's God, as if into a gale, and around me are figs and linen and vessels of clay. Number 7. Paul, Saul of Tarsus, Apostle, beheaded by the Emperor Nero. Narrow the gate through to the warren of merchants, past figs and linen and clay vessels, the smells of wood fire, and bodies moving in the shadows of houses. I am restless in my limbs, and the way turns to square a fountain, and a great and sudden flare of light. I close my eyes to the welter of it, blinded, and open them again. And in the center of this brilliance, a woman, young, her hair loose, radiant her forearms, bare she is bent to draw water, and she lifts her face to me, her dark eyes in the midst of the light which roils silently all about her, and within me, and I would move to her now and kneel before the mysteries of her body. And I am tumescent with devotion, but instantly she turns her face away, and I hesitate, gasping, waiting, if she but speak, if she but call me to her. For all my readiness to act, I wait, and my horse nickers at my restlessness. The land flat to the horizons, my body sucked dry by the sun, Damascus ahead, and heretic Jews to shackle at the wrists, at the ankles, and the air around me ignites. I am at the center of a flame, and I am tumbling down. I am on my knees. I lift my face to see her, and instead I hear a voice. A man, and I understand. Number 8. Matthew, tax collector and apostle, beheaded by King Hyrtacus of Ethiopia. Faintly bitter, the smell of his wine. The old man stands with eyes thumy in the shade of my custom shack, and he says, "Please, honorable publican, this is a very low-quality wine." And I say, "It is wormwood wine, which adds 25% to the value at 13% tax you owe the empire, 3 drachmas for the goods." And I wait for him to appeal my application of the highest allowed duty, and then I will explain the further tax on horse and cart and wheels and the bridge he must cross, and I will listen and allow him to convince me to lower the rate of duty by a few points, and this will still leave me ample profit. My thumb sliding up and down, my forefinger on my writing hand, I wait, and he is silent, and beyond him the Sea of Galilee is bright from the sun, but it is more than that. The tips of the upchurning waves are flames rising, and I begin to tremble, and now a day of clouds and a fine misty rain. And he says, "Follow me." And we are at Cana. He and the others he called and his mother. And there is no wine, and he pauses his hand over 6 jugs of water, and I sniff there, and it is fine aged wine at 10 drachmas per jug, at 13% duty. "Be still," he says. Number 9. Valentine, Roman priest and saint, beheaded by Emperor Claudius II, circa 270. And she pads and crouches over me, quietly, the she-wolf. I am in her cave, not beneath the fig tree where Momulus and Remus cry in hunger. She has abandoned them to give me her tit, and the cave is in my jail cell, and I awake ready to die for my Lord. His name on my lips, the dream a dream from my childhood before Christ, and I crouch tiny in our doorway, and naked men run by, striking the backs of women who willingly bear their flesh to receive the lash of goatskin, receiving fertility on the day of Lupercalia. And Julia appears now at my cell door, daughter of Asterius, my jailer, her eyes sightless from birth. I arise and cross to her, and take the cup of water and the crust of bread, and I drop them at once, knowing this time my hands are filled with the Spirit, and I need only touch her eyelids, and she will see. And her hair falls soft about her shoulders, and I hesitate, my loins filling, and in my head the sound of naked men rushing past, and we bare our backs, we priests ready for the lash of God, and her face is lambent, turned slightly aside, and I sawed off my clothes. I am naked, visibly filled with the ache of men, and I lay my thumbs lightly on her eyes, so she can see her Valentine. Number 10. Dragon, a beast, beheaded by St. George, 301. Fly and land and run upon the pale, fleshy jitteries. I breathe hot upon them. Their wailing comes then, and in my mouth the soft flail of their limbs, the pulpy oozy of them, and the cracky breathing. This body I eat, nice body, oozy to this blood I drink, nice blood. I settle my legs and I fold my wings. The quieting comes upon me now, after the bodies and the blood. All the rushy sputtery in my center is gone, the flying and landing and running all done. More of the fleshies dashing off, I watch them, and they seem now much like my eggy littles come forth. My wings are still. I close my eyes and open them, and all around are the quivery green tops and the great bell of breath above. I will fly up that high sometime, but now I am in a peaceful dawdle that I don't understand. Full in the center, and sweet heavy in my legs, and fluttery of the wingtips, and I lick the air, and again, and one of these I eat is before me. Just a dashy run across the way. I ask my center if it wants this bit more, and I rise, and I rush, and this one looks not soft but glinty all over him with the light, and he sits on a long-faced creature, and he makes a sign at me, up and down and across. Number 11. George, beheaded by the Emperor Diocletian, 303. Far across the field the evil thing sits, small seeming from here. My horse rears and frets, sensing the ancient beast, as all creatures of God do, while in my ears I still hear the voices of the villagers. A dragon, they cry, and so it is. I see the evil one, as I have never seen him before, complacent in a meadow beneath the sun, his scaled body the color of a toad, his breath a faint hiss, in the air wisps of smoke rising like morning mist, and him the villagers cry, "My daughter, eaten my son, eaten my husband," and I tell them of the Lord, God, and his own son, whose body was also destroyed, and they cry, "That did us no good," and they wail on, and I say, "Did you no good because you have not eaten of your Savior?" And I kneel before a priest in a secret place in Rome, and I eat the body and the blood, and afterwards I say, "Father, shall I leave my arms?" And he says, "Fight in the Lord's name." And now I sit on the edge of this ignorant village, and the dragon lifts his head and unfurls his wings, and I thump my fist upon my breastplate, and I draw my sword, and in the center of me there is only the peace that passes all understanding because of the things I have eaten. Number 12. The Lady of the Lake, Enchantress, beheaded by Olen, the Knight of the Two Swords. Diving deep, I swim in his beard, my breath giving out quickly in spite of all I know to do. All that he has taught me, my Merlin, he has schooled me in the things of the pot. The dragon's blood, and the mistletoe, and the black willow. He has yoked my dreams to my will. He has fed me 4 poisons, mandrake, and henbane, and nightshade, and his blunt-headed sword, his marting. He has fed me these till I was safe from each, till my skin no longer crawled, and my muscles no longer seized, and my bones no longer quaked, and instead I became strong and cunning, and master of the elements, and he has shown me how to bare my breasts, and my loins, and dance silently. And I dance while he sleeps, and I spin and cry out, and he falls deeper into sleep, and his staff rolls off his fingertips, and I lift his cloak, and he must be dreaming of me, for his sword is raised, and I put my hand on it and pluck it off. He will enter no other lady. Now he will live out his life with the memory of me. And it grows in my hand, and hardens into steel, and its torn root heals into hilt and pommel. And I dive deep into my black water, where I will wait his summons, and I call his sword Excalibur. Number 13. Balam, Mayan ballplayer. Beheaded by custom as captain of losing team, 803. Life is held within the ball of lives of all the world's people, and the sky is over us, and the high walls are about us, with the stone circle, the gateway to heaven, fixed there far above, and the sun has swung from low to high, as we play for the king, and for our fate, for the year to come. The skull of Pitzlaw the Great is inside the rubber globe, so it flies higher today. The ring scores possible. Weary, I plant my foot and leap and hit the ball with my hip. Mun. And my brother sliding alongside and forward to take the next volley of the team of Peku, his small striker catching my volley on the knee, and it flies up. I am descended upon my 2 feet and squaring forward, the ball lifting over my head, and Tabai cries behind me like the macaw, and the ball slips low from him past my shoulder, and caroms from the right wall, and Peku himself is running already for a mighty hip shot, and I see our ancestors, the first men on earth, playing ball with the lords of death. And even as Peku flies towards the hanging ball, I know I will end headless, like the first men. My hands, useless in this game, tremble, but my heart is ready. The ball flies up and through the circle. Number 14. Piers Gaveston, male consort to King Edward II, beheaded by posse of English nobles, 1312. Edward's gift at my throat, my head pushed down rough, and I touch my emerald brook. My king gives me emerald and sapphire and ruby, we are bright color. He and I, we are fields, and sky and pomegranates his mouth smeared with the ruby juice sweet and sharp, and I carry his crown soft on a pillow woven of gold. His child wife put aside for his peers, for his sweet man. She watches his crowning like a cameo face of milky glass pinned against a vast cloak of a crowd, and I am draped in purple velvet, bestarred with pearls, the barons also watching us, my Edward and me. They are drops of piss in the king's great sea. They push my head roughly down, and I touch my emerald, hidden in my clothes, holding my silken self together, my secret smooth stone, en capogon, polished round as the tip of the green man's member, as green as the deep forest. My king and I riding, the heat of my horse, the chuff of its breath, We are in flight, and I am happy, my sweet Ed, my sweet Ned, my sweet Eddie. And we run from all the others. And night comes, and we unbuckle, we unbrook, we unburden. He says my name, and I say his, and it is dark, and now we are alone in the world. We are polished stones. We are orbs and scepters. Number 15. Gooseneck. Court jester to Duke Eberhard the Bearded, beheaded by his master. 1494. Quickly, my lord arrives soon. I tether the goat in the place the crest of my lord's defeated enemy round its neck, and put my oft merely used floppy crown on my ass-eared hat, its bells jingling as if in laughter already at my jest, and I have secured the rope in the ceiling beam, and I stretched and draw myself up, hanging for a moment, breathless from my own wit. My father places his hand on my shoulder and pushes me towards the Duke descended from his horse and laughing at the belt of choked geese around my waist. Me wishing to keep their feet dry, I say, and he laughs loud, and I am excited by this sound. My jokes are my lovers thrilling me, and he takes me to Württemberg and a life of mirth, and he will soon be here. I begin to swing on the rope, pulling hard at it, and I am swinging faster, and the goat looks up at me, and I wave at him whom I will. As the great Duke shortly leap upon his antic triumph, and the door opens, and it is the Duke, and I am a jester, not a sailor. The goat breaks his knot and bolts just as I leap from the rope and fly at my stricken lord, and fall heavy upon him, crotch to face, and alas, I am already full excited at my joke, like a lover. Number 16. Thomas More, Lord Chancellor of England and Saint, beheaded by King Henry VIII for opposing his divorce. 1535. Arm around my neck, the king leads me out among my roses, the Thames sliding heavily along just beyond the rosemary hedge. You never fail me, he says, tugging me closer in the crook of his arm, his breath on my face, smelling of pheasant and ale from my table. Let's speak now of the stars spinning round the earth, he says, and I sit in a palace hall, the king and Catherine the queen besides him, and the plates are of gold, and the servants are back-treading softly, and there is not a sound. We wait for Henry's hands to open from the fists beside his plate, and the peacocks are before us, their bright plumes vanished, their flesh darkened by the fire and waiting. The king loosens his right hand and takes up a knife, and he places his left hand on the back of the bird, and the knife comes down. The body comes apart, and he lifts the meat, and he says, "Eat." But my hands are folded before me. I am kneeling. I wait. Where now? There is only darkness. Eat. I open my mouth. Corpus Domini Nostri. His arm is round my neck. He twists me to him, his hair a fiery crown. I am your king, he says, and it is dark again, and I lift my eyes to a body torn Jesu Christi, the bread of my tongue. I eat my king. Number 17. Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, beheaded after the displeasure of her husband, King Henry VIII, 1536. Tiny and gray is the boy, and I am undone, him being no living boy and no heir to my husband, though I hold his body close, and I am breathless with love for him, and the next day is merely a lump of blood between my legs, and he was my last chance to live. This clot, this stain, this wet cleansed spot in my place of sex. But still there is my sweet girl, my Elizabeth, her pale face, and her hair, the color of the first touch of sun in the sky, the pale fire of her hair. She turns her gray eyes to me, and I know I am soon to leave her, and she is dressed in russet velvet and a purple satin cap, with a cowl of gold, and the candlelight thrashes about the walls, and I say to her, "Lady Princess, I will always be your mother." And she says in her wee voice, "Madam, you are my queen." And she bows, as she has been taught, and I ache to take her up. But she is right, of course. We are who we are to each other, and I am who I am to the man who must cast me off now. And I say, "Rise, my sweet child." And she strengthens and lifts her face, and I bend to her. I draw near to her. I cup my daughter's head in my hands. Number 18. Catherine Howard, Queen of England. Beheaded for adultery by King Henry VIII, 1542. What a tumble, rolling in the sudden dark, the secret parts of my body, my own body, recently giving forth blood thick and fragrant, and then soon after, my first Henry I, whose hands I whisper my secrets to, who touches my hidden body, myself, and what sweet tumblings roll through me, Henry who teaches me the flute. I hold it in two hands, and blow into his flute, and there is music, and then the dark of night in Lambeth. My step-grandmother, somewhere far away in another room, and I lie door-monitored amidst the unmarried girls, with great unseen puffing all about, and my own Francis I, King of the Dark, and he places his secret inside mine, and what a tumble it is, breaking me in two, and then reuniting me, turning me into him. And Henry, my second, eighth to the realm, his body enormous and folded into hidden places, and he has parts only I will touch. The abscess of his leg issuing forth a pale green flow. "Do you not find this loathsome?" he asks, softly for once. "No," I say, "it is our secret." And my cousin Thomas, whose pepper I am happy to cull, pulled from the deep earth for me to see, and it destroys me. At last I walk unsteady to the block. Has it happened? I can't remember. I can't see. I tumble. Number 19. Lady Jane Grey, Queen of England for 9 days. Beheaded by Queen Mary Tudor, 1554. I am certain he does love me. My God, John Aylmer, who teaches me Latin and Greek and French and Italian. Oh, caro mio, he touches with his forefinger that hollow of bone beneath my throat, and he says to me, "Jane est omnes divisa in partes tres," and I am but 14 years upon this earth when this love begins, when John puts his fingertip beneath my throat, and his face bows slightly, and the men who ruffle to their knees, their faces bowed, the crown on my head and my brocade is gold and silver. I think only of the dress, not of the crown, which is my husband's desire and his father's. I am not this tall, but for the copines I totter upon, and I settle into the royal barge, and sail upon the dark surface of the river, and all the faces of London look and are silent. Edward, my king, being dead, his head bows, and the sound rises from his chest. He touches his mouth, and upon his fingertips there is a dark red bloom, and he crosses himself foreheaded, chest, shoulder, and then his bloody hand passes across his throat, and there is only one touch upon my throat, my sweet John naming the 3 parts of June. Sorry, naming the 3 parts of Jane, the heart, which I know now is his, and the body, which has lain down already, a voiceless child upon the earth, and my head. Number 20. Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, beheaded by Queen Elizabeth I, 1587. Dark, abrupt the bite at my neck gone. Sweet Jesus, I say, the bite fierce upon me. My breath snarled somewhere in my chest. I wait silent. My sweet Gidon inside my petticoat lays his furry throat into the bend behind my knee. The cold of the stone rises to me, hands pressing my shoulders. A veil of Corpus Christi cloth descends before my eyes. Words appear about forgiveness and innocence, and they are from my mouth, though they might as well be from a separated head. His muzzle, wetly tracing along my calf Gidon, presses his wee body into my petticoat as I kneel. I stand before the stone block in the center of the great hall, the February cold ranking my breasts through my bodice scarlet, the color of martyrdom. Men's hands upon me roughly pulling off my gown of black satin and velvet. My throat naked now. Be gentle with the lamb, I say as he lifts the golden Agnus Dei off my neck, and my rosary. Gidon's claws clicking along at my heels. I cross the stone floor, refusing the arm of a man. Down the great staircase, my heart beating faster than Gidon's. Fotheringay's great hall is below me, full of upturned faces. I press him close to me, his heart racing against my throat. Brushing the hair from his eyes, I say there, "Now, little man, we must see to go down these steps." Number 22. Sir Walter Raleigh, courtier and explorer, beheaded by King James I, 1618. Bess, my dear old queen, my Elizabeth, her lips brittle her body, smelling sharply beneath the clove and cinnamon from her pomander, she lies next to me in the dark. Still besmocked, though the night is warm, and she has asked me here at last, and I am masted for her, and her bedchamber is black as pitch. So she is but a shadow, no torch, she cried, as I entered upon pain of death. And now we are arranged, thus my own nakedness, perhaps too quick, she says, call your new-found land the place of the Virgin, Virginia, to honor my lifelong state, and I flinch, but her smock does rise, and I find the mouth of her Amazon, her long fingers scrawling upon my back a history of the world. Oh, sir, you have found the city of gold at last, she says. Knowing me well, this fills my sails, the jungles of ancient lands are mine, my queen, oh Swisser Swatter, she cries and falls away, and I lie beside her, staring into the dark, and I am sated, certainly, but the moment calls for some new thing, and I say, wait, my queen, and I am out her door to the nearest torch, and I have already prepared the treasure for my new world. This sweet sought weed, this tobacco, and I sail back and slip in beside her, and we sit and we smoke. 23. Brita Goldsmid, Swedish woman, beheaded for alleged witchcraft, 1675. Night has come and curls about my head, and stays and sleeps a long sleep. For months here on the edge of the taiga, I rise to trim the lamp of Margit, leaps silently up and rubs her chin on my knuckle. She is not an imp of Satan, my black cat, but she is not of these others either. These humans I am one of. I lie down in the darkness of my bed, and once again there is a man, and I am safely that to the world. The woman beside him, he lies heavily upon me, raking my face with his beard, and beating my loins, and cursing the ashen soil he turns, and cursing my barren womb. And I am of him, and he says, but I cannot draw a breath, and I do not know him, and he is gone to murder in the ground. And now the Margit leaps upon my chest, and she tramps softly there, drooling and murmuring to me, and I lay my hands upon her fur, and we purr together, and I am this cat, and through her I am the spruce and the pine, standing all about, and I am the moon glint of the ice, and the drifting of the snow, and the cry of the wolf, and she lays her face against mine, and I am the scattered white fire of the stars, and I am the long, long night. Number 23. Louis XVI, King of France, guillotined by order of the French Revolutionary Tribunal, 1793. Thrash and flurry in the undergrowth, a bird, a boar, a stag, the rush of wings, of legs, I lift a Charleville to my shoulder, the musk cool to my hands. I squeeze the trigger and feel heavily that half heartbeat of silence, and then the cry and the kick of her. The night of my bed, I shudder the trees nearby. I am alone at wood's edge. Be a man, the king, my father says, but I am not a man, and I feel the beast there invisible in the dark. The beast of Gévaudan. He is far from Paris, but he steps from the woods before me, a wolf as big as a lion, 100 dead in the countryside. He has passed by the animals of the field. To savage a man or woman or child, and he faces me, and he lifts his ragged muzzle to the sky and howls, "Liberty to kill, equality of death, fraternity of beasts." And I wake, and I am still a child. My king's horsemen are off slogging through the marshes of the Oration to find him, but he is with me, and I am king now. And I pass the smoking musket to my man, who hands me another, and I shoot and shoot again and again, and the bird falls, and the boar, and the stag, but behind me is the beast, and he seizes me by the head. Number 24. Marie Antoinette, Queen of France, guillotined by order of the French Revolutionary Tribunal, 1793. Softly on the arm he touches his wife, and they hesitate in the dim corridor. I, a few steps behind, holding tight to nurse's petticoat, and I know how never, never again will I be present in a moment like this, because there is always the great goose flock of my brothers and sisters, and always there are corridors and ladies in waiting, and I am but a little girl, a little girl with a lute. I can play, and satin shoes with such elegant thin soles, I feel the cold stone on my toes, and he touches his wife's arm, who is Emperor of Austria, King of Jerusalem, Hungary, Bohemia, Dalmatia, Croatia, and even more. That's as far as I can remember. I am small, as small can be. I could crawl into the belly of my lute and stay there looking between the strings. He touches his wife's arm, and he is my father, and she is my mother, the Empress of Austria, and Queen of Jerusalem, and Hungary, and so forth, and her skirts are bright and enormous. I could live inside them, and bring my 3 dogs, and my pony too, and all my clothes, and the skirts are a problem for my father, who has touched my mother's arm because he leans far over across them and nearly falls, but she turns her face to him, knowing he is her beloved, and he kisses her. I must also say before I continue that I do apologize for, I think I'm kind of off I'm putting emphasis on the wrong syllables with these sentences. And it is actually because none of these have proper grammar. None of these, they're all supposed to be very, very short paragraphs. They don't have any periods, no commas, no apostrophes, nothing. So this is making it a little harder for me to narrate it properly. So forgive me for this. 25. Mary Jeanne Bécu, Comtesse du Barry, mistress to King Louis the 15th. Sorry, mistress to King Louis the 15th. Guillotined by order of the French Revolutionary Tribunal, 1793. Snow is falling, the sign runs with ice, and I come in from the cold, my face tingling. I climb the narrow stairs, Monsieur Gluck pushing past me, descending, and humming some bit of sad music, and I am led by the elbow, and now I am beside his bed. Monsieur Voltaire, and he takes my hand and draws it to his face, and the tip of his long nose touches my knuckle. As his lips kiss my fingers, and his breath is labored like my king, I sit beside Louis, and I cannot see the pox upon him in the dark, but his breath drags itself heavily through his body, and I bend to him and whisper, "My lord, the child you lately took to your bed has done this to you." And my hand falls upon his wrist and squeezes hard, and Monsieur Voltaire lifts his face from my hand, and there is a faint stain of blood at the corner of his lip, and he narrows his eyes at me. "We are merely at a play, my dear," he says, and I ask, "Is it true there is no place beyond, where the king will hold me again, and he says whether there is a heaven and hell or not? I am afraid you are finished with Louis." And only as I speak do I understand why it is I reply, "Then all is for the best." Number 26. Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, scientist, guillotined by the order of the French Revolutionary Tribunal, 1794. Air and fire. I breathe deep upon a shore in Brittany, and the sun is falling into the sea before my eyes. But I am full of thoughts, the ideas of things beyond my sight. The essence of fire is matter fusing with oxygen. A flame from a candle by my bed, this vast orb of sun, the torch lighting the way past iron doors. My wrists shackled, my time come, my breath guttering like a flame. These are all one, the welter of the sun, the welter in my chest. I have proved this also. To burn, to breathe are the same process. The oxygen of the air rushes inside the furnace of my lungs, and it flares. I give off heat. I dress Monsieur Seguin in a suit of taffeta and elastic gum, and I seal his mouth with putty, and his breath comes and goes through my instruments. Through my mind he lives, he burns. We carry our own we carry our own small sun inside us, and not a particle of mass is lost. Nothing is lost. We fuse. We are carried off to another state. My father-in-law moves ahead of me along the corridor, and now he lays down his head on the instrument, and the blade falls. The head falls. One fire goes out, and another begins, and nothing is lost on a shore in Brittany. The sun vanishes, but the seams of cloud flare up before me. Number 27. André Chenet, guillotined by order of the French Revolutionary Tribunal, 1794. Great the minds in Mother's gilded chairs, Lavoisier and David and Suvet, and along the edge of our salon, the heavy scent of women, lavender and jasmine, and the smell of their bodies, and the mounting of powdered hair that falls now about the shoulders of the Duchess of Fleury, who kissed mother's cheeks and had me full on the mouth and asked, "Are you truly a man? And who here is a poet?" A dull-eyed now she drifts near our jailer, who palms her breast, and she pauses as if in thought, and he lets her pass. "Lavoisier is gone to the blade," whispers Suvet, "who has bribed for pants," and I sit for him in a slant of light from the high window, and he lifts his brush and tells me to stop trembling. The stone had full of our kind, our lace filthy, the turnkeys lifting their red Phrygian caps to cheer the reading of tomorrow's condemned. And in my cell my hands will not stop quaking, nor my chest, nor my knees, when I try to stand, and I pace and I wait for my own brush, my own paint, as words pass through my head in a death cart. Iron wheels turning on the cobbles, they pass to the scaffold and are lost. But now, at last, my kill, my ink, a basket full of dirty clothes. My words are hid within. I am, and I am. Number 28. Maximilien Robespierre, lawyer and revolutionary, guillotined by the Revolutionary Convention, 1794. Father dressed immaculately, his knee breeches, his silk stocking, his tailcoat, mother dead in the parlor, her arms folded across her chest. He leans against the far wall, and I am trying to get my arms around Augustine and Charlotte and Henriette. They seem like children to me now, my brother and my sisters. Though I am myself only 6 years on this earth, I try to hold them, my arms straining and inadequate, and I know already that the man leaning there is dead to us too, and I am responsible. And now the door shuts hard, the knocker clangs. He has said nothing. I follow quickly, and strain at the door, and he is gone. His horse clatters away, and he is gone. The Bois de Boulogne is full of citizens dressed innocently in tricolored trousers and clogs and red caps. I walk among them, my hound at my side, the summer daylight lingering, and they look at me, and I want to open my arms. They are children, and there are many who would harm them, and I am in my room above the carpentry yard, the sky incarnate with dawn, my words prepared at last for the convention, and I dress in white silk stockings and knee breeches and floral waistcoat and black tailcoat and red cravat, and my hair is powdered, and on the cobbles a scaffold and the blade. Dear Father, for us all. Pierre-François Lassigny, criminal and memoirist, guillotined for murder, 1836. Did I say this was 28 yet? This is number 28. Slim at hip and thigh, my lover, my financier. Sorry, I really butchered that. I'm starting that again. I'm reading way too fast. Slim at hip and thigh, my lover, my fiancée, my guillotine, but her opening is large enough for me to give her everything, my head sliding inside her. She is tall, and she is painted crimson, not mere lips and cheeks, but all over my sweet woman. Her narrow shoulders, her arms held primely to her side, her lap that I will fling myself upon. All her thin body is rouged for me. All but her bosom, which is naked and unadored, polished bright. Her sharp-edged tit that waits for me, and has always waited for me. I pass her in the street in a blood dawn, and she will soon give herself to another man. She is no virgin, my fiancée. I am reconciled to her past with others, and this first moment I see her stagger to a stop. I am but a boy, a petty thief, and my father is at my side, his mustache waxed into rapier points. He lifts his hand toward the lady, and says, "That is where you will end," and cuffs the back of my head, and I am betrothed, and I come to her no virgin. I put my own blade deep inside a widow. She moans, though it is but a boy's affair to prepare me for my worldly lover. I stand before her now. I bow, I slide, I enter her, and I await her ferocious embrace. Number 29. Tachin, Chinese wife, beheaded by her husband, 1838. Straight and whole are my feet. I would rise and run as I have loved for many winkings of the moon to run with my brothers, but I press my feet side by side and wiggle my toes this last time and whisper to them goodbye. I know what is before me, my mother in the courtyard singing prayers to Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy, not to spare me a life of pain, but to wither my feet to perfection. The mercy of the golden lotus, the mercy of a wealthy man to keep me. I tremble, I am ready to weep, but for these tiny stones of anger Kuan Yin has placed in the corners of my eyes, even as the footbinder puts the soaking tub before me, that first night, even as my husband trembles before me in the torchlight trembling, always from the opium, but this night he trembles from what he believes about the brushing of my sleeve by a man he himself brought to our house, and my mother sings, and my toes are seized and folded hard under, and the wrappings wind and squeezed, and my arc cracks, and I see Buddha in heaven sitting on his lotus. But is my naked foot the golden lotus he sits upon, and hands push me down my neck, made bare, and I cry, please, please my head cut off my feet. Please, before my head cut off my feet. Please, before my head cut off my feet. Number 30. Jacob, American slave, beheaded by his owner, 1555. Snowbelly frying in the first coming up light, I smell it being only a child. My Suki mammy whisper me about how my own from her body mammy done been sold away, but she still loves me. The morning bell ringing on some other plantation far off, Suki mammy singing my ways, cloudy ghosts send them angels down, our own morning bell ringing, and I am a strong back man, and the driver beats me bullwhip fire, now across my right side, now across my left. And another day he beats me, and another, my back always on fire, clearing some new part of the forest for corn and for cotton, the chopping done, and the grubbing, and the log heaps piled, and the burning filing the night sky with flame. And I know something burning in me, and Suki lying in the dirt, the driver nudging her at the shoulder with his boot, 'cause she tell a child how he have a soul of his own, and that night I am rushing, and my thumbs dig deep in the driver's throat, and I lay a torch to the hayrick, the sky going hot as a bullwhip lashed behind me, the hounds calling, and I am running hard through corn row and forest, and I am a child, and I walk just a little ways from my sulky to the window, and I see the first fire of dawn, and a bell is ringing far off somewhere. Number 31. Angry Eyes. Apache warrior. Beheaded by Mexican troops. 1880. Breechcloth and moccasins, only these things on my body, and my head bound by a cloth band my face, and chest and arms stained, but I do not know the colors. I do not look. My eyes are fixed on the horizon beyond mesquite and pinon and stone, and I am ready to fight, though I have no bow, no arrow, not even the rifle. I bend to the white man in dark blue, the first to die by my hand, and I listen for his spirit nearby. His hair the color of flame, his face filled with tiny faded spots painted there, perhaps to call upon the stars, his mouth open voiceless. My arrow, though through the center of his chest, I put my hand onto the stock of his rifle. Still listening, but there is nothing, no bird, no insect. Where are you, my foe? And the sun is setting, and my hands are empty, and I dance like a woman. I dance with mincing steps, my elbows held close against me, my face impassive before the fading light. The edge of the world is the color of old blood. My body dances stealthily, all my flesh trembling to an unheard drum, and I am alone in this place. But no, his spirit whispers. He is beside me now, and breathed in breechcloth and moccasins, and we dance barely moving, nearly touching. I and this white man with hair of flame. This concludes part 1 of 2 of my narrations of Severance, flash fiction stories written by Robert Olen Butler. So I learned a few things from this so far. First thing I learned is I think all of these were not really meant to be written. They were meant to be thought of or spoken. I think that's why there's no grammar on any of these, and why the writing styles from some of them were often so different from each other. So I think these were meant to be experienced rather than written on paper. And I've learned a few things, a few small things, but it's better to genuinely learn small things than to pretend to learn about a great number of things. Firstly is that when I learned about the Tachin edition, where she was talking about, Buddha, please cut my head off before my feet, or cut my feet off before my head. Anyways, the message was, for a body part that's in that much pain, it's basically a very morbid way of saying, immediate way of saying that there are worse fates than death. And the poetic quality of this book is so much more beautiful than I was anticipating it to be. The writing is almost reminiscent of Frank Stanford, who has this invaluable book or poem called Battlefield Where the Moon Says I Love You, which I have a copy of. I would love to narrate that someday, but unfortunately, because it's based in the South, it does have rather daring language in it, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that anytime soon. So yeah, now after doing part 1, I think this is more of a poetically charged project than artistically, because I thought this was going to bring just more art and new perspective onto the central theme of this series, but it actually made a much more poetic, much more literary part. And I hope you sincerely enjoyed this, and be on the lookout for part 2. Thank you.